NC State family, it's time for an honest look at your sports world. Let's get you hooked up for Pack Therapy, presented by First Horizon Bank. Here are your hosts, Tim Donnelly and Wolfpack football legend Mike Glennon.
Welcome into another edition of Pack Therapy, the podcast. Tim Donnelly here alongside my co-host. You all know him, Mike Glennon, former NC State quarterback. We'll start by reminding everybody to go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, everything, everywhere podcasts can be found. We'd greatly appreciate it. And then I'm actually going to reverse what we normally do on this show. Normally we recap the previous week and then eventually we get to the next week. But when a freshman quarterback is going to be making his first start, not just on the road in an ACC opener, but on the road at Clemson in an ACC opener with Clemson coming off a bye for a team that needs to kick in gear. We're going to start there. Mike, what is CJ Bailey going through right now?
Tough spot. I go back to my first time ever playing, which was a redshirt freshman. South Carolina came into town. It was the Thursday night opener. Russell was the starter, but they're like, we're going to give you a drive. And I remember going out there and I was like, wow, this is fast. And I didn't have the crowd noise. I wasn't, 3 to 4 months removed from high school. I'd been there for a year. And so it's going to be a lot. But he does have some experience to build on from last week. And I think he's probably headed into the week feeling a sense of confidence that he at least has done it to a certain extent. Now, Louisiana Tech isn't Clemson and playing at home isn't playing at Death Valley. It's going to be a lot for him, but at the same time, it should be exciting for him. He's got to, for me, have the mindset of like, I got nothing to lose. This is a low expectations. Like I just said, I'm 3 to 4 months removed from high school prom, and now I'm playing against Clemson. So it's a great opportunity for him, but I think I'm not trying to say the expectations should be low because I think there are some bright spots to his game, but just the circumstances is tough.
We've both been in this situation, and tell me if you agree with this. Getting from being a backup quarterback and being thrown into a game due to an injury midway, I almost you like it goes so fast. Like the game is over, and you're like talking with your parents after the game before you even get a chance to be kind of collect yourself and think about it. Which sometimes that's the best way to do it. It's like just getting thrown into the deep end and all right, now I've played, a half of football and we completed a comeback. There's a lot of time to think about this one, right? The first game as the starter, which he is, right? Whether it's by injury or whatever, Dave Doran early in the week knew it's going to be CJ Bailey starting, which means he's getting all the first team reps. The media is going to want to talk to him. You're getting all the texts from everyone that you went to high school with, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so cool. Good luck. Like there is a mental aspect of tackling your first start that you don't have to deal with when it's just, you're on the sideline watching the signals and all of a sudden get warmed up and you're in there and it's going.
Yeah, there's kind of two sides of the coin to it. When you're the backup, it's tough in the matter of you never know when you have to go in. So you got to be ready at any given time. You don't have the practice reps. But at the same time, like you said, you're just thrown into the deep end and you don't even really have time to think about it. It's just like, here I am. I mean, that happened to me a couple of years ago. We were playing the Cowboys. Daniel Jones goes down with a concussion. And next thing you know, you're like, wow, I'm playing, against the Dallas Cowboys. And he probably had that moment a little bit like, wow, I'm finally playing college football. And then on the other side, it's what you're saying. There's a lot more kind of pressure all week. The meetings, the practice, everything is geared around him, and you do have more time to think about it, and you have more time to study. But at the same time, you can start to overthink things. And what I liked about his game is he does seem to just have some natural skills, and it felt like it just, to a sense, came natural to him. Now it's like you're starting to think too much. You can let those. Let all the preparation, it can almost get in the way of taking away from that natural ability where you're just out there playing and you're not thinking.
The part I really liked, and now we'll kind of go from Bailey going into Clemson and kind of what he can build off of the Louisiana Tech game, and we'll mix in a few other topics. One of the things I really liked about his game is he started 1 for 3 with a pick and then completed his next 7 passes. You need that, and especially, not just the Clemson game, but when you're playing Power 4, Power 5, whatever we want to call it, football, there's going to be adversity within games, and I love that he went out there. Obviously, you wish he didn't have to, suffer the adversity early, but I love that he faced adversity early and then immediately bounced back and
Right.
played
I think
better.
it's a huge confidence builder for him to have gone through that. And that first interception looked like a true freshman. It looked like a guy
Which he is.
that was kind of panicked
Yeah.
and just threw it. But to come out in the second half being down, I mean, that's not an easy thing because all of a sudden it's like, well, the pressure's on me to get us going again. Like, we don't want to be the team that loses to Louisiana Tech as a 20-point favorite. And I will say, I think the pick six probably was huge for him because it made it so he didn't probably have to feel like the hero that had to lead him back. Now it was just a one-score game. But all in all, I was impressed with him. I thought he did a good job throwing the ball around. You could tell he's got a live arm. He's got some athleticism. Nothing too major, but there was a point where they ran kind of a smash concept, which he high-low the corner, and he kind of gave a little head and shoulder to get the cornerback to jump on the low route so he could throw the corner route in behind him. So you could just tell he's got a good skill set. It seems like, he is probably further along than some other true freshmen may be, but at the same time, tall task headed into Death Valley.
I saw that same smash route, and my first thought was, oh, that was one of his high school plays.
Yeah.
Like you could tell that was like, oh, good. Oh, this is one
done it before.
Yeah, this is one I know. Let me show off a bit. Let me influence the defense with my eyes and my body language.
But I don't think he was showing. I think it was like a natural thing. Like, he just did it.
Yeah, show off was the wrong word. He wasn't like flexing on him, but it was like, I know this one like the back of my hand.
Right.
I'm good at this. I don't have to overanalyze anything else because and he went to a very, very good football high school. Every high school playbook, it's just smaller. There's just not as much going on. And you get to college and there's 80% more, but that 20% that you've been running already is kind of your favorite part early on. And you could tell that was something he was comfortable with.
And I think that will play to his advantage that he did go to a very good high school and the competition down in Miami. I talked about how fast the speed of the game was for me. There's a little bit difference in the football that's played in Northern Virginia and Fairfax County than there is in, where Dade County or wherever he is. So, he
played with the number one recruit in the country. It was his wide receiver in high school.
So he's been around speed. He's grown up in it in high school. So I think that will help. But at the same time, there's a different level of South Florida high school football than there is Clemson football.
Let's look at the non-CJ Bailey portion of the Louisiana Tech game. Ironically, I think kind of the best start this team has had was against Tennessee, and then the wheels kind of fell off, and we know what happened there. Is there concern about the slow starts against Western Carolina and Louisiana Tech, where you legitimately had to like unload your bag of tricks to make sure you won games that you were 3 touchdown favorites?
I think there's definitely a concern. I think it became more about particularly Western Carolina, and you could say Louisiana Tech is a lot of times we talked about that the lower level teams don't have the depth. They as the game goes on, it tends to wear on them. So they did look good coming out against Tennessee. I still have concerns about this run game. I have concerns about kind of utilizing the receivers. I feel like that they're almost just checking the box. We talk about that little box that they have on the call sheet for KC. It just seems like it's like screens. And first play of the game, let's throw him a screen. We threw Casey the ball. It's like, let's throw the ball to him where he's moving forward to allow him what he does best is yards after catch. So, and the defense looks good to me. I wouldn't say they look great. So I think the slow starts are concerned, but really the whole team needs to play better if they want to accomplish what they set out to do.
Then the next question I had for you was literally written down as any concern over KC's lack of explosives. And it's exactly what you're saying. He's great yards after the catch. You want to get the ball in his hands. But 5 yards after the catch, after he catches it at the line of scrimmage, is 5 yards. 5 yards after catch, when he catches it 17 yards downfield, is 22 yards. Like, I don't see why. It does feel like they're kind of 8 catches, 25 yards. It's tough to do like as a fullback. Like if you get 8 carries, you're going to hope for more than 25 yards. So, I like that they spread it around. I like that Jolie made a play. I like that Noah Rogers had some chance, and Bailey obviously was just trying to keep his head above water. But there is something to be said for your big players need to be able to make big plays, not just kind of like you're saying, hey, did you know, you were never this. There was a year when I was in Pop Warner, when I had just moved, nobody really knew who I was. I was an MPR kid, which stands for minimum play requirement. Everyone had to play 3 snaps in the first half and 3 snaps in the second half. And there was literally like a team mom on the sideline with a clipboard and like, you know, all right, you were in there for field goal block. That's 1. You were in there for punt. That's 2. And then you get your 3 in each half. And it does feel like there's a team mom running around going like, did we get KC his 4 touches in the first half? Did we get him? Okay, he got his 4 touches. It needs to be about maximizing those touches, not just making sure that he gets the ball.
Yeah, exactly. I think I talked about this on the show before, but my quick little stint with the Dolphins and Mike McDaniels with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, the whole premise of their offense is to take deep shots and then to get Tyreek and Jalen Waddle catching the ball going vertical. It's a glance route. It's, you know, a slant is a 3-step slant. A glance is 5 steps. So it's just a little bit deeper. And there must have been 15 to 20 different ways in the game plan that they had the glance route so Tyreek and Jalen Waddle could catch the ball going vertical. And I think that's what you see with KC is he needs to catch the ball running at an angle, going vertical, and then he can make guys miss and do what he does best. So I think they got to find a way to get more creative in getting him the ball. I mean, I love that he's touching the ball 8 times a game, but it feels like, 6 of those were probably behind the line of scrimmage.
What's the Grayson McCall element of it? Like, obviously pre-injury, and we'll see where the injury goes. We don't have a ton of information about it. Dave Doran notoriously tight-lipped with that. But from what you saw from him early in that game when there was that slow start, how was he playing?
I think Grayson's playing fine. I think the offense as a whole doesn't look good, and a lot of that falls on the quarterback. Early in the game, he threw that post corner route. That was a great ball. Got called back for illegal hands to the face. Then I mean, he missed the wide open kind of wheel route, but there was a free rusher in his face. I'm pretty sure at this time, no confirmed sources. I think he has a concussion. I mean, 2 times in that game, his head slammed hard. One was a series or 2 before that one, which I thought he was going to be out, and then another one happened right before that play. So, it's easy to point fingers at the quarterback. Has he been perfect? No. Has the offense been real efficient with him? No. But I am in the party that I think the offense is struggling not because of the quarterback. I think it more honestly falls on the offensive line run game. And, you could put the running backs in that as well. I think the offensive line has done a good job pass protecting, but the running game still feels like it's not hitting on all cylinders like it should be.
I want to remind everybody, you can go to our YouTube comments right now and comment questions for Mike, and I'll, if they're too mean, I'm just not going to bring them. I'm like, let's just call it what it is. But I will say if there was mean stuff on the internet about this team, there's 2 guys that are kind of at the center of it. One is Grayson McCall, and you just gave your thoughts on him. The other is Jordan Waters, running back transfer from Duke. I think part of it is the perception, and I don't know how true this is, that they both got a decent amount of money coming out of the transfer portal. And, for the first time in college football, we get the like, why is this guy making so much? I gave whatever part of my disposable income, expendable income, so this guy can make money. And now, is there like Raphael had the better production in this game? We've seen Hollywood Smothers had the better running production in past games. Is there an argument that Jordan Waters should become one in a committee rather than the guy that they pound the rock with?
I want to start first with what you kind of brought up about the expectations and NIL. And I think that does play a role into all this. It's like no one was that familiar with Grayson McCall. They saw some things like Coastal Carolina. People remember Jordan Waters from the NC State game last year, but it's like, oh, we brought them in, we paid them money, they must be really good. And then when they don't play at quite that high of a level, it's like, why do we bring this guy in? I thought he was gonna be really good. And I don't think that's exactly fair to put on them, where with other guys like Raphael, say, for example, you kind of see them grow within the program. Like if Grayson McCall made the throw that CJ Bailey made with the interception, which I'm not blaming, he's a true freshman, he deserves more pass. People would be like, what is going on? But it seems like he got a free pass, and where if Grayson did that, then it wouldn't be. To your question about the running back by committee, I still kind of stand on it. It feels like Jordan Waters is a good running back. I don't know if he fits the scheme as well as some of the other guys do. And to that point, then maybe they do need to start rotating Raphael and Smothers in more, just because it does seem like when they're in the game, things are happening. And I don't know if it's exactly falls on Jordan Waters, but it's hard to argue that when Raphael and Hollywood get the ball, it does seem like the offense is more effective.
That's the reason why I brought up the committee, is because a lot of times you don't realize what that running back's role is, right? If you have the guy that's a little bit bigger, that is, he might have 3 carries for 9 yards. The other guy comes in and runs for 25. That guy's so much better. Why doesn't, and sometimes you don't realize the reason why the 25 yards was available was because of the 3 carries for 9 yards that opened it up, right? The thunder and lightning thing. You need thunder to let lightning. So I don't even always, like, there's a lot of runs that Jordan Waters, I'm like, he didn't leave any yards on the table there, right? He got what he could get out of that blocking scheme. And then sure enough, Raphael comes in and breaks a big one. And I'm like, well, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure Jordan Waters wouldn't have picked up that, if the hole was there or whatever it is. So it's, I think you go committee and you kind of ride the hot hand with running backs, which is kind of the future of football here. Very few bell cows. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I do want to look towards the Clemson game. Clemson's coming off a bye. How do you handle that? And much, much more. Stick around. We're back here on Pack Therapy. Tim Donnelly and Mike Glennon ahead of the Clemson game coming up this weekend. It's first ACC game. All of your ACC goals are still on the table. I do feel like I'm maybe setting up higher expectations than I should every time I point that out, but it's just a fact. You turn your season around and it clicks here and you play better than you've played the first 3 games. All of your wild and crazy dreams are still at your disposal. Clemson is coming off a bye. Did that change the way you prepared at all? Did you expect more unscouted looks, I guess, because they had an extra week to prepare?
I don't think so. I mean, it did feel early in the season already have their bye week, but I don't think, honestly, they're probably seeing a true freshman quarterback and they're gonna game plan around that. It's probably one of 2 things. They're either gonna try to heat him up or they're gonna say, let's just sit back and make him beat us, and that we think our offense is better than he'll do, even if we give up a few touchdowns. That's fine. We'll score more than he's capable of. So I don't know which philosophy they'll take. Maybe it will be a little bit of a mix of both. But I think they're going to be more. Clemson will be gearing their game plan around CJ Bailey and how they want to attack him.
How much can you learn? Right. I was trying to do my Clemson preview, and you go look at their games. What do you learn from getting absolutely smacked by Georgia and then absolutely smacking App State? They really haven't had, a second half where the game was in doubt, which just it's I don't know, it's like Monopoly money. It's like once the game's a 30-point game, it's all just who cares.
Well, I think from the Georgia game you take away, okay, well, what did Georgia do to stop them? And it might just be physical ability that NC State can't hang with what Georgia did. And then you look at the App State game and say, okay, well, this is what Clemson did well. How do we stop that? So, and I would be curious to see if Clemson made some adjustments from week 1 to week 2. But I'm sure State will put together a good game plan. It's just whether or not, this offense under a true freshman quarterback can hang with Clemson's offense. And, I think Kate Klubnik is very, we can stop them, stop them. Our defense can stop their offense, but at the same time, it's going to be about scoring, the points. I don't know what that number is. Is it 21? Is it more? But the offense under a true freshman is going to have to find a way to get some points on the board.
Cisse and White, Aiden White, the 2 corners, both appear like they're going to play, but both on injury reports appear a little nicked up. I mean, Klubnik is going to test them. Like, the injury report might as well list a whole bunch of targets and bullseyes. Like, you're going to go test those guys. They're both obviously extremely talented, very exciting players within the program. But the way Clemson got going against App State was deep balls, right? They felt like Cade Klubnik heard 2 years of saying that he was a check down Charlie and was like, watch this. State's going to have to make sure those guys not only play well, but if they're not 100%, that they get the help.
Yeah, and I think you noticed in that game last week against Louisiana Tech that they weren't out there. I know Cisse played in the beginning of the game but left, but it felt like Louisiana Tech was moving the ball more than they probably should have without them. So I'm sure Clemson's going to test their health, see if is Aiden White really healthy, is Cisse really healthy, and take their shots. Because I'm sure Klubnik has some confidence going this one. I mean, he had 5 or 6 touchdowns in like the first half.
Yeah. And it was like 42-0 a couple minutes into the second quarter.
Yeah. So both sides of the ball are going to have to show up. It's going to be a battle, but honestly, I think it's about NC State looking like they belong. Like against Tennessee, yeah, they looked like they belonged through a quarter and a half, and then after that, it didn't look like it was even close. So it's about, with the circumstances and all that, just making it look like we can compete with Clemson, even with the true freshman at quarterback.
I want to go back to something you said a few minutes ago, which is, you don't know what they're going to do to the freshman quarterback. Are they going to pressure him, heat it up, and keep bringing exotics and keep trying to confuse him with the pressure game? Or are they going to do hey, a freshman's going to make a mistake at some point, let's make him complete 8 passes to score a touchdown? How do you anticipate? How do you get ready for that? It's when you're the quarterback, you're just doing, especially when you just took over an offense, you're doing whatever the head coach tells you, right? You are just you're not out there with all autonomy. You are, coach, tell me what to do, and I'm going to do my best to do it. What should they be getting CJ Bailey ready for?
Yeah, I think the coaching point is, okay, if they heat you up, don't make a bad play worse. Like if they're going to sack you, just get down, protect the ball, we'll punt, and we'll move on. If they're throwing some crazy coverages at you where you have no idea what they're in, find the check down, run, just don't make a bad play worse. And then on the flip side, if they are just dropping back in coverage and saying, I don't think you can make 8 consecutive throws and march all the way down the field, it's like, okay, just play boring football. Don't try to make the home run shot if it's not there. Just take a completion and it's cliche, but it's one play at a time. If you get a completion and it's 4 yards, all right, 2nd and 6, we're on schedule. That's fine. So it's making him be patient. It's the whole Tom Brady philosophy of kind of be a surgeon out there, take what the defense gives you, and then eventually that might put Clemson in panic mode. They might send the house and you hit the big play. So I think it's don't make a bad play worse and just take what the defense gives you one play at a time.
As always, we're going to finish up here, and I want to make sure we have time for it because there's, I think, some juicy ones here with questions from our YouTube comments for Mike, and feel free to come back to this. I keep trying to make this a deal. Obviously, we put these out once a week. A lot of the comments come in before the game, and then they're very much answered by the play. So feel free after the game, during the game, when you see something, to go back and you don't have to watch the video again. Just head to the comments, leave your comment for the next upcoming week. That's on our YouTube page if you find this video. At Robert Roger 778 says, when is it time to talk about the Doran glass ceiling being a concrete ceiling? 9 wins will never be broken under Doran, and wins like beating Louisiana Tech prove that. The reason why I brought this one up is because during our preseason episodes, you said that 9 wins was like the hey, that's a good season mark, and everybody got, not everybody, a lot of people got pretty mad saying it's got to be 10 wins, it's got to be an ACC championship game appearance. The expectations were higher than that.
I wonder what that number would be now.
And there's now everyone's saying basically like the expectations we set are not going to be reached. Have you seen these 3 games? Yeah, I guess that's kind of my question. Like, what is that number now? If and obviously it applies to Dave Doran having never won 10 games.
Honestly, this isn't a good answer, but they could, Tennessee and Clemson were always going to be tough. 2-2 was a very realistic start, and Clemson game hasn't been played. We could win it. It just feels like it's an uphill battle right now. And then the rest of the schedule, it's going to be competitive. Like this
a lot of winnable
NC
games.
State team, they could win the remaining schedule, or it's going to be a battle. I mean, there's not going to be easy games on the schedule. I think I'd say 8 wins at this point is a very realistic and attainable. But it's honestly, and to Dave's credit, just making it to a bowl game doesn't feel like it does it anymore. And in the past, it kind of was like you make a bowl game, that's a good season, move on to the next one. Where now he's kind of raised that bar and the expectations that we're looking for, 10 wins and all that. So to kind of go back to the original question, yeah, Dave hasn't gotten us over that hump, but he has raised the bar here. And, you look at other schools that had a pretty stable program like Virginia Tech, and the grass isn't always greener. So
shots fired. For those of you that don't know, Mike's brother went to Virginia Tech. Just randomly picked one out of a hat. Oh, look at this, Virginia Tech. Next question here at JackPack45. How is this job not Bailey's to keep? He brought us back to beat Louisiana Tech, and the hope for next year is needed in the locker room.
Yeah, but to me, it goes back to Grayson is not playing as bad as people think. I think, who gives them the best chance to win right now? I still think it's Grayson McCall. That's not taking anything away from CJ Bailey. I think the future is bright. Like I said, he has a stronger arm. He's more athletic than Grayson, but he's still a true freshman. And Grayson's a 6-year guy who doesn't have the biggest arm, is athletic enough, but not the most athletic, but he still has the experience. And I still think he gives him the best chance. So I'll be interested to see how it plays out, how his injury is. And if CJ Bailey goes into Death Valley and plays really well, then yes, this completely changes. But based off of what I saw last week, it right now it looks like the future is bright, but I still tend to think that Grayson McCall gives this team the best chance to win.
I'm going to use a phrase, and if you're like me, you're wildly annoyed by how many streaming services you need to subscribe to just to watch like a full weekend of football from across all levels. I'm going to give you a phrase that I think we all become very aware of: free trial. You have a free trial of CJ Bailey this weekend, right? If he goes out there against Clemson and doesn't look like a true freshman and executes the offense, and I'm not saying you have to win, but if you make plays and you look like you belong, then yeah, you do have to start having conversations about, why not play the young guy if he's looking as good as the old guy, and you still have eligibility and building for the future and everything else. But it's a free trial, right? Like it's the 7-day free trial. Just set the alarm on your phone so you know to cancel it before the recurring payments start. You get to see a game with CJ Bailey before you have to decide whether it's Grayson McCall or CJ Bailey going forward. I'm big on not making a decision before you have to. Like
I think that was a perfect analogy, honestly. And that's kind of like what CJ's mindset should be. He's playing with house money. It's like a free game for him and the coaching staff to get that evaluation. And we don't know. I mean, and Grayson may be out for a month or longer. I mean, my suspicion of seeing how his head hit was that it's a head injury. He had a
missed 5 games last year,
a big concussion last year. It was encouraging seeing him on the field after the game, because I think if it was a concussion, it was that bad, he probably wouldn't have been allowed out there. So we'll see how it plays out. Just, if Grayson was healthy this week, and I would be playing Grayson over CJ. But you know what? Injuries sometimes open up opportunities for the backup. And if CJ looks the part, then, it would definitely be hard to argue that he doesn't deserve it moving forward.
It's kind of exactly what I'm talking about when I say make sure you come back and ask questions after the game, because the questions you ask before the game a lot of times are stale. If how is this job Bailey's not to keep? By Sunday, that question might be stale. And by no fault of CJ Bailey, it's a very tough situation. Maybe he doesn't look good, and it's very obvious. Oh, let's get the veteran back out there, right. and then the question isn't even the question; it's already been answered by the action on the field.
It was a small sample size on Saturday. He threw the bad interception, which was just one play, and he made some good throws. We'll call it probably 6 or so good throws. A lot of were just kind of bubbles or screens like that, but there were about 6 throws that were down the field that looked good. So 6 good, 1 bad. It's just way too soon for us to be saying that he truly does give NC State a better chance to win.
We have 2 more here. I want to get to them, so we're going to move on real quickly. Again, send in your questions to our YouTube comments under this video. If you're listening on any other podcast software, just go find the video and comment underneath. At In-N-Out Duck says, can you now agree that this is similar to the other one. Can you now agree that the offseason talk about ACC championships was 10 steps too far, and the best thing for this fan base is to lower expectations? Getting everyone's hopes up does nothing for the program. And I think they were maybe attacking me specifically because I was pretty high on State coming into the season, and maybe I did participate in like putting them up high to set up for a fall. But you're 2-1 through 3, so I'm not eating that yet.
I mean, I think that just goes to the whole question when people were disappointed by saying 9 wins. This team is good, but they lost the best defensive player in the country, and everyone gets transfers. Like, we had these high expectations for Grayson McCall and Jordan Waters and all of that, but there's all the other schools get transferred too. You look what Cam Ward is doing down in Miami. Now, on the other side, people are upset, could be upset about bringing in Grayson McCall. You look around the country and how many of the transfer quarterbacks are really working out. Look at what's going on at Florida State with DJU. Riley Leonard at Notre Dame lost to NIU. Now, he looked better last week, but I still don't think he's thrown a touchdown pass.
He ran for a bunch of them this past week. Right. But yes, I mean, Notre Dame brought him in not to lose to FIU or NIU. Sorry.
Just because you bring in a transfer quarterback doesn't mean it's going to be a home run and, completely change the landscape of what the team can do. So, look, ACC championship still is realistic. Now,
it's mathematically and technically still alive.
Do they look like an ACC championship team right now? No. And I think, the combination of what happened last year with basketball, baseball, and there was a lot of good momentum heading into football, expectations at NC State are higher, which is a good thing.
I've said this. If you take a note from the basketball team, the men's basketball team, they put it together at the last possible second, right? It was their transfers gelled, all their roles settled at literally the last possible second. They were down 12 to Louisville in the lose and go home season over ACC tournament. This is kind of the last possible second for the football team. If you're going to go win an ACC championship, and if you're going to go to a Final Four like the men's basketball team, you don't have the luxury of having like this, hey, ACC basketball tournament at the end that, pretty much everybody's going to make, and you're just going to get to go, play it out there. This is that moment for State where, great, you didn't look good against Louisiana Tech, you still got the win. If you look great against Clemson, then it happened at the right time. So there's still that chance.
And this feels a lot like last year. I mean, last year, the first couple of weeks of the season, things weren't looking great. People were complaining about Brennan Armstrong.
So you're saying 4 games from now, CJ Bailey's going to elect to sit?
I don't think that's going to happen. But
hopefully, knock on wood, it's a new world.
It just feels very similar. Quarterback gets replaced as things are struggling for the young guy, and then all of a sudden they, went on a nice little run. So I don't think this is quite that last second against Clemson. After this, if they don't win this one, then it starts getting in kind of that last chance to truly compete for an ACC championship.
Last one here, and I have to give a shout out to the name because it took me, like when someone has a custom license plate and you have to like say it fast to figure out what it means. It is 10IC Pac Fan, which took me forever. 10IC, Tennessee Pac
nice.
Fan. So obviously a couple,
like the old elementary school.
Yeah, like the little, exactly.
Are you from Tennessee?
I got you. 10IC Pac Fan says, what's the hardest part about a quarterback making his first start at Clemson? We talked about all the challenges. There's one thing I want to ask you about, but I want to see your answer first.
Oh, I think it's one, the speed of the game, 2, the crowd noise. It's just it's one thing when things are going fast. It's another thing when you can't even hear yourself. Now, I don't know how much they're communicating in the huddle, but if they're showing some crazy looks and you got to work with the offensive line, it's obviously a great environment and exciting. It can create quite the adrenaline rush, but at the same time, it's your head's spinning. It goes from being out on the practice field to going against the live football and how fast things go, and tie in the crowd noise. It's a tough place to start.
The crowd noise is what I wanted to ask you about. Did you have to go silent count at all in college? Oh, yeah. Again, it just comes down to the first start thing. Like, obviously you got to watch Russell do it a few times and then, okay, I see how it works. I saw him execute it. CJ Bailey really hasn't had that. It's just the communication pre-snap. Like if I'm a coach, I'm guarding my timeouts with like their gold this week, knowing that there's going to be moments where CJ Bailey really needs a timeout, and he doesn't realize the play clock's at 2, and he's over by the tackle screaming at a slot receiver.
Right. There's kind of the pre-snap and the post-snap. The post-snap is things flying around and all that and going with the ball in the right place. The pre-snap, it's not only, the snap count and all that, but it's the play clock and not getting distracted by the noise, by the look that they might showing you, and then remembering, I got to look up to make sure we got time to get this ball off. So hopefully the pre-snap penalties are limited. They're getting the play in on time, getting up to the line of scrimmage, so they're not taking delay games, and also offensive line not jumping off, having the false starts.
And then I'll end on this: the best sound in the world is a dead silent away stadium, where you can hear you threw a long touchdown pass and you can hear your wide receiver in the end zone screaming and hollering and everything. It's fantastic. So the best advice. I
have one of those at Clemson. So my senior year, we went to Clemson, and it was loud. I will say, I think the running down the hill to me is one of the more overrated things, but that place gets very loud. The stands kind of are straight up and down.
How do they not get hurt running down that hill?
I don't know. Anyway, it was very loud. I think they got up 7-0, and then we went on a 21-0 run. And I remember throwing a touchdown on a post to Rashard Smith, and I got hit in the ground. The place was loud, and then all of a sudden it was dead silent. And when you get hit and you throw the ball, you don't know if it's caught or not. But by the crowd's reaction of the dead silence, I knew it was a touchdown. And to your point, there is no better sound in the world than that. When you quiet a crowd, I love the being at home and throwing a touchdown, the crowd going crazy. But I think I enjoy a little bit more.
Agreed.
The crowd going crazy to the dead silent.
The best way to deal with a loud stadium is to shut them up. So if possible, right? If that's easier said than done. Mike, thank you as always. Again, reminder: put the questions for Mike for next week in our YouTube comments. If you're listening to this wherever podcasts can be found, please subscribe. Please pass it around to your friends. We'd appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next week. See you.